Hi, welcome to the Yes I Am blog. Today I'm at the Wings Model Agency office and I'm here with Anna.
Hi, hello.
So Anna is the talent manager of Wings Model and she's also my manager.
Yeah.
And Anna, so can you tell us a bit about you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am from New York originally, and I started in my career. I started with a film degree from New York, and from there I kind of moved into casting after getting my degree, and then from casting I kind of switched over into being a talent agent, which is amazing. So I did that for a few years in New York. So working with talent has always kind of been my passion. From when I started in film, I knew that I wanted to work with talent because I always wanted to be the director because it gave me the opportunity to kind of work with talent. So then after I got my degree, I was thinking, you know, how can I make that into a career? Because the film industry is a little bit of a hard nut to crack. So then from there I thought about casting and did that for a little while and then moved on, like I said, to being an agent. And then now I find myself here in Australia, in Sydney at Wink Models, which is amazing. So there's a lot of opportunity there for me to kind of work with a bunch of diverse talent and kind of put my thinking cap on a little bit more in a new marketplace here in Australia. So I'm really excited about that.
That's great.
Yeah.
Can you tell us what you like the most about your job?
Okay, well there's so much. I think that a lot of people would think that working in a model agency would be like really glamorous and like I'm off doing like all these amazing things. But realistically, the majority of my job is sitting at my desk, making a lot of phone calls, making a lot of emails, kind of communicating with a lot of people at once. So I've always been kind of a multitasker, so that's definitely something that I like doing. I get bored pretty easily, so if I'm not thinking about like 8 different things, I'm like, okay, when's the next thing? So I do like that I'm usually very busy. I've started to say productive though, instead of, because I always feel like everyone's like, oh, how's your day? Oh, I'm really busy. Oh, I'm so busy too. Like, let's talk about how busy we all are. But yeah, so being productive makes me really happy in my job. But I would say that the main thing about my job that I really love is watching talent really grow and kind of nail the jobs that they're booked on. So if I have a client that comes to me and says like, I need somebody who is between the ages of 25 and 35 who knows how to ride a motorcycle and also can juggle. It's like, who is going to be that person? But then the search goes on to find a person on the books, and most of the time we do have talent that can fulfill those briefs. So those are really exciting things. The industry we're seeing getting a bit more diverse, like showing a lot of diversity as it comes to ethnicity and age and body type as well. So it's also really exciting for me too, because I think that representation in the media is also super important. So we still have a long way to go, but I like kind of to be a part of that and to kind of foster getting talent to those briefs. So those are kind of things that I really love about my job.
Great. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, of course.
I'm going to ask you a few questions about self-esteem.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what does self-esteem mean for you?
Well, I think self-esteem probably has taken a little bit of a different meaning as I've gotten older. I think initially when I was younger, self-esteem was very like body focused. Like, am I pretty enough? Am I cute enough? Am I skinny enough? Will boys want to date me? Like that whole thing. Will girls want to be friends with me? So having, and then it's kind of changed now that I'm older to having it be more about life in general and more career focused as well. So having self-esteem of like knowing that you're where you're supposed to be in life and that you actually know what you're doing. I think that's kind of more where it's shifted for me in my life now, as opposed to, you know, the more superficial part of self-esteem, which is like, how do I look? How are people reacting to me because of the way that I look? And now it's more of like, how are people reacting to me because of my worth at my job or as a friend or something like that.
It's more about your life journey.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah,
for sure. And I think it'll probably take another change as well as I get older and move on to other things in my life.
Yeah, constantly
changing, exactly.
If I ask you where you feel self-esteem in your body, where does it belong? What would you say?
That's a very interesting question. In my body, I feel like my initial reaction to that is definitely like in my chest, like in my heart, in my, like, because when I feel really self-assured, I kind of feel like proud, and you know, you sit up really straight, and to me that's kind of coming out from here. Yes. So I would definitely say like from heart or chest or something like that.
So it involves your emotions.
Yeah, I would say it's definitely an emotional reaction to self-esteem that I most likely have. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And if I ask you what color is self-esteem, what would you say?
I think it's red, because red is like, I don't know, I always feel like I say red.
Passion.
Red's also like, you know, your eye is drawn to that. I think I've always been I've always had pretty high self-esteem. I've never been one to be pretty like shy in a room, or, you know, I've never been a wallflower. So red to me is like, oh, my eye goes to red, and I'm never uncomfortable kind of being that person that people are looking at. Yeah. So yeah, red is definitely the color. I feel like I say red for everything. Like when someone's like, what's your favorite color? It's like, I want to say black because I always wear black. Yeah. But also red is pretty cool too. My hair's been red before. It's been a lot of different colors, but yeah, red's cool too.
And it's amazing.
Yeah, thank you. You're welcome. Like to be different, like to be noticed, you know.
Okay, so if I ask you to rate your self-esteem level from 1 to 10, what would you say?
Like I said, I've have a pretty high level of self-esteem. I think I've been really lucky to have that. Not really sure where that comes from. I think probably from the way I was brought up. I feel like both my parents are have pretty high self-esteem. So I think just watching them is definitely taking me there. So I think, I mean, generally day to day, I feel like it's about an 8. There's definitely been times in life where it was a little bit lower and had to like kind of bring it up a little bit. There's definitely times where it's been higher, like at a 10 to be like, I'm the best, it's so cool, like I feel awesome. But I think like at a baseline, it's probably around an 8.
Pretty good score.
Yeah.
Very healthy.
Pretty good score, right?
Yeah. So we are good at multiple things in life, but if you can name something you're good at, what would that be?
Oh, something that I'm good at. That's a good question. I would say I guess I'm pretty good at, I think maybe I'm pretty good at expressing myself. Mm-hmm. So whether that's through creativity, whether it's, you know, I do photography as well. So I'm pretty good at knowing what I want to see. I'm also a very visual person. So if I know that I want to create something that looks a certain way visually, I'm pretty good at kind of finding my way to get it to that point. And also working with a team to express that as well. So if I have something in my mind of how I want something visually to look, I'm usually pretty good at telling people what I don't want and what I do want, and also kind of creating that on my own. So I guess expressing myself would be pretty good. And also if somebody comes to me with a problem, I'm usually a really good problem solver.
Yeah. And
I think I get that for sure from my mom. She's always been the problem solver person. Like if you say, oh, well, this, like, oh, I don't know how to do this. It's like, no, this is the first thing you need to do. Do that, do that, do that. And I think I'm very much like her in that way. If somebody comes to me with like something that they can't fix or they can't handle, it's usually like, okay, great. Now that I've gotten all the information, first step is this, second step is this. Let's do this. It's going to be fine.
So communication and support.
Yes, exactly. I'd like to think so. Maybe we should ask some of the people that I've communicated with if they feel the same way, but I think I do a good job.
Very good.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you have healthy self-esteem. Mm-hmm. What do you do for yourself to maintain or to improve your self-esteem level?
It's a great question. I think that surrounding yourself with people that make your environment really conducive to that, I think is important. Sometimes people might surround themselves with I don't know, people that might not make them feel good all the time. And I think that that's probably one of the major factors as to why people might not have good self-esteem. So it's always really helpful to have supportive people around you. When your family's supportive, that's a huge plus. When you have a partner that's supportive, that's huge plus. Anything in your life that's kind of bringing you down, if you go home at night and you're like tossing and turning about like, oh no, this, that, the other, like it breeds a lot of self-doubt. So I think that if you really want to kind of up your self-esteem, kind of have to get rid of, you have to like cut the fat, like get rid of the things that you don't like doing, and kind of try and cultivate your life from there, I guess.
Very good.
Yeah.
And find the right people that you want around you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you have somebody in your life that, you know, or if you're doing something, if you're in the wrong job, if you know, you might have the best job, you might be making so much money, or you might be traveling the world doing all that stuff, but if it's not fulfilling you, your self-esteem might take a hit, because then you're like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing with my life, I don't feel great about myself, so.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you have to name someone or something in your life that contributed to your self-esteem level positively, who or what would that be?
That's interesting. I mean, I mentioned my mom and my parents before. I think a lot of, you know, how I grew up was pretty important to having high self-esteem. Like, they were always really supportive, and I did some drama and acting stuff, so that also contributed a lot to self-esteem. I mean, I always had that baseline of like being fine with people watching me like perform or do karaoke or anything like that. But I guess it kind of just comes down to the people that you surround yourself with, and how you react to adversity as well, I think is pretty important. So to have the support system around you for when you don't feel like you're having high self-esteem, to kind of be able to go to those people to say like, hey, like this happened to me and like I just feel like so crappy about it, like can you please help me? And then usually those people, if they're supportive and they're on your team, that I've been lucky enough to have people like this, they can kind of bring you up a little bit and be like, hey, listen, it's probably not so bad, think about it this way, think about it the other way. So yeah, I think it's about having a good support system for sure.
And that's the time when you are vulnerable, and that's when you need the right people around you.
Exactly, exactly. Because if you have a bunch of negative people around you, or people that are not really fighting for you or on your team, then it's like they'll just bring you down even more. If they don't have time to talk to you about stuff or support you in the ways that you need to be supported, then that definitely can not help you, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Ask a little bit of a sensitive question.
Okay.
You already touched it a little bit.
Yeah.
Is there something or someone in your life that instead compromised your self-esteem, and how?
Interesting.
At some stage.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's always, in everyone's life, there's always adversity, and there's always, you know, people that are going to hate on you or whatever. So, I mean, there's definitely been times in my personal life and then in my professional life where there were people that may not have been rooting for me or may not have been on my team. I think I come off as a pretty confident person, and in a lot of situations I found that sometimes people can become threatened by that, especially in a little bit of work situations sometimes. So, and also especially as a woman, so it's always like a line that you have to kind of tread when it comes to being a self-assured person. And so, I mean, there's always been adversity on that, of people just, you know, feeling a little bit threatened or feeling a certain way, or perhaps jealous, I'm not sure. And it's about, and definitely in those times when things have come to a head, it's always really important, at least that I've found, that you kind of have to just feel like you do know what you're doing, like you do have a perspective, whether or not it's right or not, you're allowed to have your perspective on things, and you're allowed to have a voice. So when somebody doesn't agree with you, it's okay, and also vice versa. If you don't agree with another person, that's also okay. So yeah, in terms of like a specific instance where my self-esteem was threatened, nothing's coming to mind, but just in general of people, might not have, had my back or felt threatened or anything like that. Yeah, it definitely takes a hit to the self-esteem, because you think, oh no, like, should I have not done it that way, or should I have handled the situation a different way, or should I not have stuck to my morals in that instance because now somebody's mad at me about it. So yeah, there's definitely been, I think in everyone's life, there's people have always had that, like, oh no, I shouldn't have handled it that way. Or maybe I was too quiet, or maybe I was too loud, or I'm not sure. So yeah, in those instances, definitely have had a little bit of a struggle. But yeah, if you have support around you, usually in like a week's time, it's just like, oh, that's fine. That thing that happened, I'm okay now. It's all good.
Yeah. And you overcome it and you move on.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, perfect. What is the best advice, if you had any, that someone gave to you to reach self-esteem and to be successful in your life?
Well, I think something that I realized as I've kind of gotten a little bit older is that, because I always had this doubt about like, and I think Sheryl Sandberg brings it up in her book Lean In a lot, the imposter syndrome. Mm-hmm. So it's like the fear of being found out, like you've gotten to this awesome place and then somebody's going to be like, hey, how'd this girl get here? She's not supposed to be here. She doesn't know anything. And constantly like, feeling like, oh no, I'm not supposed to have this relationship. Like, I'm not good at relationships. What's going on? Or I'm not supposed to have this job. I don't know anything about what I'm doing. Like, there's plenty of people that are way more, way better at what I'm doing. So I think when I've gotten older, there's always that line of being like, oh no, am I going to be found out for this? Like, I don't have all the answers all the time. Yeah. But then you kind of realize that nobody has all the answers. Everyone's kind of just faking it until they make it. And because when you're a kid, you kind of always think that adults, like, they always have the answers and they're always right. If an adult tells you that something's wrong, you believe that thing is wrong. But then when you become an adult yourself, you might say that thing's wrong, but then somebody else might tell you, like, actually it's not wrong, it's okay, that's fine. And you're like, oh, okay, I guess that's fine. So I think in terms of advice, like, everyone, or I guess fake it until you make it, because most people are doing that. So you do know what you're doing and you're fine, like whatever you're doing. And even people like at the very top, like if you read the book Lean In, like she's like a amazing person in Facebook, and she's pretty high up in the I think she's the COO. Correct me if I'm wrong, but so yeah, she's like one of the leading positions at Facebook, and still has that like, oh God, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to be here, if I'm qualified for this. So yeah, I think that everybody has those doubts in their mind, whether it's professional or their personal life. So the advice would definitely be like, everyone feels that way, like you're fine, not everyone has all of the answers. And if you feel like you don't know something, it's okay to ask too. I think that's a good piece of advice. Like, the CEO of a company doesn't necessarily have the answers, and the time that you stop learning is the time that other people just go right past you.
Beautiful.
Yeah, exactly.
The advice is being humble.
Yes.
At the same time, own it.
Exactly. Yeah.
We're all on the same boat.
Exactly. And yeah, humility is a great thing to bring up too, because although you can be confident and you can be self-assured, it's always really important to stay humble as well, because you never want to be. I feel like people that are not humble kind of walk around the world with blinders on, so they're not really taking in other people's perspectives or seeing other people's point of view, or accepting the fact that an industry is changing. So if you're not humble enough, the world will kind of just pass you by because other people are, you know, getting feedback from other people and allowing all of these collaborations to happen. So yeah, definitely important to stay humble as well, on top of, you know, maintaining confidence as well. It's like that line of being like
balance.
Balance, exactly. Yeah, for sure.
Thank you all. Thank you for sharing.
Of course, yeah.
That's great. Great
Yeah,
information.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Really exciting.
And thank you and bye-bye.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.